You won't be able to find these groovy desserts on many restaurant menus today, but that doesn't mean they should be relegated to the history books. In fact, they might just make you want to whip out Grandma's Betty Crocker cookbook and whip up some of your own. Baked Alaska may have first been created in the 1800s in celebration of the US acquiring the Alaskan territory, but it really rose in popularity in the 1950s. By the 60s, people still couldn't get enough of it. It was called a surprise cake, as you don't see its ice cream cake interior coming from its torched whipped meringue on the outside. It's a dessert that's meant to impress your guests, and it isn't actually as hard to make as it might seem. We've started to see a comeback of Baked Alaska in recent years, with seasonal trendy riffs like chai, caramelized peaches, and pumpkin spice. Some restaurants have started putting Baked Alaska back on their dessert menus, but your best bet will likely be to attempt this creation at home. Dates have long been a popular dessert ingredient thanks to their inherent sweetness. Date bars were created by mixing chewy dates with copious amounts of sugar, then combining with a buttery crust, baking, and cutting them into squares. Also known as matrimonial cake by Canadians, date bars go back as early as the 1930s, with the bars being a staple in the 1953 Joy of Cooking edition. Bars and other date-themed desserts got big in the 60s, but the versatility of dates has carried on to current times. If you look at any protein bar label, you'll likely find dates listed as a sweetener. You may not think of dates right away when you think of a sophisticated dessert, but we think these buttery, old-fashioned bars can give a nod to the recipes of the 60s and be a delicious, sorta healthy treat. If you're looking for a pink dessert, look no further than this classic party cake. Pink champagne cake contains, obviously, champagne or sparkling rosé and gets its pink hue naturally from strawberries or a touch of food colouring if you want to cut corners. Known for its airy texture, pink champagne cake was traditionally paired with a Bavarian cream or coconut filling. In more recent years, buttercream has been used as a substitute for both the filling and icing. The pink champagne cake is thought to have originated on the West Coast in the 50s and 60s. It was so popular in the West, it was said to be one of the most requested recipes from the Los Angeles Times decades ago. The cake had a reign of popularity across the country from 1961 to 1965, and though it might not be as much of a mainstay these days, this classy pink cake could just be the perfect choice for that next party in need of a splash of colour and some bubbly.
What's for dessert? Jell-O, with things the milkman brings.
The 60s and Jell-O are almost synonymous. Jell-O had a place on the table in many a household at the time, and while you can still find Jell-O available on store shelves and in hospitals today, the molded cake formations made that were so widely popularized in the 60s are not typically on the dessert radar these days. The iconic Jell-O salad allowed your creativity to shine. You could even make your Jell-O sparkling with champagne for the fancy adult dinner party. Or for a more kid-friendly sparkling Jell-O approach, add the lemon-lime soda of your choice. While we may pass on bringing back some of the more unusual pairings, like Jell-O with seafood or vegetables, Jell-O mold cakes with their see-through additions like fruit or marshmallows are both fun and tasty. Ambrosia salad skirts the line between a dessert and a side dish, but whether you've eaten it at the beginning, middle, or end of a meal, you've probably eaten it at a family dinner or two sometime in the last few decades. Ambrosia salad isn't really a salad the way we think of them now. There's no vegetables, but there is fruit, coconut, mini marshmallows, and Cool Whip.
I don't know what anybody knows about Cool Whip.
I read a 30-page dossier that fails to use the words fake whipped cream.
It's customizable based on your chosen fruits, although mandarin oranges and canned pineapple tend to be the go-to. Popular around the holidays in Southern cuisine, Ambrosia salad has undergone many variations over the years by chefs as a tribute. These days, you may see takes using more interesting fruit varieties than what once graced this dish. Spumoni wasn't invented in the 60s. Its origins reportedly date back to late 19th century Italy. When Italians immigrated to the States in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they brought the recipe along with them. During the 60s, Spumoni was a particularly popular dessert at steakhouses and supper clubs, and while its close cousin Neapolitan ice cream is still sold by retailers nationwide, it's surprisingly difficult to get a single scoop of Spumoni nowadays. What set Spumoni apart from your average frozen confection was the rather involved process of producing it. Its name comes from the Italian word spuma, meaning foam, and to make Spumoni correctly, 3 different flavors of gelato must be blended with whipped cream before being combined into a fluffy and sweet frozen treat. After the gelato is perfectly airy, mix-ins like nuts, amaretto cookies, and candied fruit are added before it's frozen solid, offering additional texture that transcends your typical ice cream scoop. The most traditional flavors of gelato used are pistachio, vanilla, and cherry. Not coincidentally, when these are layered in the proper order, Spumoni closely resembles an Italian flag. While Spumoni may not be easy to find at stores, if you have some time to spare, you can whip up your own. When National Spumoni Day rolls around on August 21st, you'll be ready. This vintage dessert is arguably still relevant. There's a whole restaurant dedicated to the fondue pot.
Don't just make a reservation, make a genuine connection. Savor every moment at the melting pot.
Fondue originated in Switzerland as a melted cheese dip, but didn't reach the Americas until it made its debut at the 1964 New York World's Fair. By the late 60s, early 70s, fondue had become ridiculously popular. The original chocolate fondue recipe included Toblerone chocolate, heavy cream, and Swiss firewater, but has since been modified to include all types of sweet and salty varieties. You can usually find chocolate fondue served with graham crackers, fruit like bananas or strawberries, angel food cake or pound cake, brownies, and even Rice Krispies treats. The customization makes chocolate fondue an easy way to please all palates. This dessert deserves a place at your table if you want to enhance a party with an interactive after-dinner display. The chiffon cake has roots tied to the West Coast in 1927. It's said that insurance salesman turned caterer Harry Baker created the recipe but kept it a secret for 2 decades, only selling the cake to the Hollywood elite. General Mills was able to buy the recipe from Baker in 1947 and published it in a Betty Crocker pamphlet the following year, and from there, the chiffon cake exploded in popularity with baking contests. The secret ingredient was using vegetable oil instead of shortening. The recipe, called the first new cake recipe in 100 years, also separated the eggs from the egg whites. The dessert graced dining tables throughout the 60s, but has since become more of a rarity. Though you'll see chiffon cakes in specialty bakeries, you'll likely be hard-pressed to find them at your local grocer. If you're more of a pie person, there's a chiffon for you too. That version also has West Coast roots. It was invented in 1926 by Monroe Boston Strauss, aka the Pie King. The chiffon pie is known for its light, airy filling thanks to a combination of egg whites and gelatin, as well as its signature graham cracker crust. In 1948, baking giant Duncan Hines repopularized the chiffon pie with a recipe that's still circulating today. Chocolate mousse hit the height of its popularity in the mid-20th century, thanks to both the 1950s Betty Crocker cookbook and a 1961 Julia Child cookbook. You'd be hard-pressed not to find chocolate mousse on a trendy dessert menu or at a dinner party through the 70s, but then it slipped out of the limelight. The exact reason why is unclear, but some have attributed it to the diet culture that took over the 80s. The good news is that chocolate mousse appears to be making a comeback in recent years. The authentic French recipes a la Julia Child typically include some sort of liqueur and good quality chocolate.
You want to melt it in 1/4 of a cup of flavoring, and I'm going to melt it in dark rum.
But there are plenty of quick and easy chocolate mousse recipes that take less technique, but are still tasty and pay tribute to the treat of the 60s. Serve your chocolate mousse of choice in vintage glass dessert cups with a dollop of whipped cream for the full retro vibe. The crown jewel cake is another fun Jell-O-themed dessert with whimsical colors and unique textures. Also called the broken window glass cake, it was so popular in the 50s and 60s that it even ran on the back of Jell-O boxes. The crown jewel cake has a layer of either white cake or graham cracker crust, a creamy filling, and bold-colored gelatin cubes throughout that sparkle like jewels. You can utilize a spring-form pan, a mold, or a pie pan. To shortcut your way to a crown jewel cake, you can use boxed cake mix and boxed gelatin. If you don't want to mess with cake, there's a crown jewel dessert that offers the same multicolored Jell-O artwork within whipped topping. Whichever take on the crown jewel you choose, its fun colors are sure to captivate both adults and kids even today. The Tunnel of Fudge cake was a second-place winner at the 1966 Pillsbury Bake-Off contest. A clever baking technique separates the chocolate cake batter into 2 portions with hot fudge in the middle and a trail of walnuts or pecans. There are 2 keys to baking the Tunnel of Fudge cake to perfection. The first is the bundt pan, which became a household staple after the Pillsbury contest, thanks to this cake. The second is 1 package of Pillsbury Double Dutch Fudge Buttercream Frosting Mix, which Pillsbury discontinued. While the company has provided a recipe adaptation using powdered sugar and cocoa powder, the result is a pale imitation of the original recipe. Although online bakers have found some success with a few modern tweaks. The end result of the Tunnel of Fudge cake is a fudgy molten core that rivals any molten lava cake found at restaurants today. But be warned if you plan to recreate it at home. Pillsbury recommends not going light on the nuts for the best tunnel cake results. The cool and creamy grasshopper pie gets its name from its pastel green hue, akin to a grasshopper, and is inspired by the early 1900s crème de menthe and crème de cacao cocktail of the same name. The exact origin of the grasshopper pie is unclear, but it's believed to have started circulating in cookbooks in the early 60s as a means of selling products from specific alcohol brands. Its popularity was proven when the St. Petersburg Times was inundated with grasshopper pie recipes in 1968, after publishing a letter from a reader inquiring about one. Grasshopper pie was still a commonly enjoyed treat into the 70s, but its popularity dropped after that. So what makes this pie so popular? It may be the easy, no-bake nature of the grasshopper pie, making it perfect to prepare for a summer day. The pie is set by using melted marshmallows as the base for the boozy filling, with some recipes even adding a touch of white chocolate liqueur. After the pie is assembled into an Oreo cookie crust, it's popped in the freezer for a few hours. While you may see grasshopper pie make an appearance on certain green-themed holidays, we think the mint and chocolate combination deserves a place on the dessert table year-round.